And we are live. A little goofy there on the update on XSplit. XSplit, get it together. I really love using your software. You're fantastic. You've done great things. Now, I know a lot of you come from mixed martial mindset for the mindset and not so much the MMA, but we did have a pretty exciting card. So
yes.
It was pretty exciting. I'm not going to lie.
It was good. Yeah, there were a lot of good fights.
Ton of good fights. So we're going to definitely be talking a little bit of MMA and plus the Jacare thing. I don't think that we can.
Oh, man.
Bro.
Wow. Bro, that's nuts.
I didn't even see that or know about it until yesterday. I was at a party, and I was like, I left just before the main event so I get the main event. Mm-hmm. And actually, I was kind of upset because I missed like the first 2 minutes of the Barboza fight, which was like en fuego as well. But then when I saw that, and not only did he lose by submission, but I've never heard an arm pop like that in my life.
That is pretty. I mean, Tim Sylvia, his arm popped.
Yeah, but dude, the way his arm popped, it
was. Yeah, that's the humorous. That's not an easy bone to break.
It sounded so loud. Cormier took his he took his headphones off. So when Joe said they were going to go to the replay, Cormier took his headphones off and walked. He didn't want to hear it.
No,
dude. It was the loudest, craziest thing I've ever heard.
I have some theory on that. With older athlete who having bones breaking that never really happened before. Same thing with Chris Weidman in the leg kick. Same thing with Anderson Silva. Okay, so when I was dealing with my neck issues, my certified like injury guy. William Vandry, he was telling me that, a lot of, we sweat so much, we work out so much, we sweat out a lot of the minerals and a lot of the soft tissue out of our bodies. And we create like an osteoporosis type scenario, and our bodies degenerate, the bones degenerate. They get more brittle, they get weaker because we're sweating this stuff out so much. We're working so hard, yet we don't put the nutrients back in to rebuild the bones and the soft tissue. So if they're not supplementing correctly, if they're not eating the right foods, especially the longer you go in your career, like the more depleted you get, the more chances are that something's going to break down. And that was one of the, I was stenosis in my neck. And one of the reasons I was having a lot of bulging disc and a lot of nerve issues and my hand going numb was because the bones and the soft tissue had broken down so much that the nerve endings coming out of the spine, the two spine things are coming through. So normally it's supposed to have room, but as you degenerate, you lose the room. So it starts squeezing on the nerves. So a big part of my process of getting back to not needing surgery and fighting again was supplementation. I had to take tons of supplements, like piles of supplements per day.
Supplements? Immune system boosters? That doesn't jive well, bro, with the new science of the day, and especially COVID.
Well, we need some kind of bone vaccine, some RNA bone growing vaccine. That's what we really need. We should have a lockdown. We should lock down all fights until we get this vaccine for the bones situated, and then we can all get the pop, and we'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want your uncles and your aunts and your grandparents to break their bones, right? Obviously, we need that. So here's the deal, guys. I see a lot of you guys watching. I want to let you know we're going to start with the Epstein stuff. So thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. But then later on, we are going to get more into the fights, but also into stuff we can't talk about on YouTube. So I am encouraging everybody, if you haven't made the free Rockman account, we now have the Android app. iOS has the update. The only problem is you can't.
There's a new app. I'm having trouble logging in though.
Are you? Well, talk to them about that because I haven't. I was able. Here's the deal. Basically, when I was logged into a web browser, then it was also logged into my app. If I log out of the web browser, then I'm logged out of my app. So this is generation 1 on the Android. I still can't stream from it. I'll say this: you can't tip on it. But that's okay because you can, if you are a premium subscriber, download episodes and you can shut down your phone, put it in the thing and you can listen like it's a podcast. And we do put up old podcasts there. It's really good. So, nice. Again, we're going to get into, let's just show some of the stories we can't talk about here, John, that we're going to be talking about. we are going big on Epstein. I want to make sure everybody understands that. From Bill Gates to what I think's going on with them smearing him and everything else.
I've got I don't know if you see my tweets, but I had a little theory.
Well, tell us about the theory.
They're prepping. She's going to roll over on him.
I think
Maxwell's going to roll over on him.
I think it's worse than that, but we'll get into all of it. This is out of the Austin American.
Because I mean, they're gonna find a scapegoat, so it all goes away. They have to, otherwise the questions keep coming up. They need to be able to. Somebody brings up something about Epstein, they need to be like, there, that's the end, solved.
Well, I think
it may come down to something with Bill Gates because he fucking pissed somebody off somewhere, and he's gone.
I think it's a twofold thing, right? So, I think number one, Fauci looked incredibly uncomfortable with Rand Paul when real questions were finally asked.
He lied. Said they weren't funding them, and then they were all in like the same sentence.
Well, did you see my breakdown of it, where his lip quivers and he misspeaks and he stutters?
Body language. He wasn't expecting to have somebody actually push back on him and not just.
There were 9 clear times where he was extremely uncomfortable. He spoke in double negatives. He stuttered. His lip quivered. That's beyond the perjury. So I think there might be a limited operation out there to put this narrative to bed. And the narrative is what? That this leaked out of a lab, right? Because it can't be seeded, okay? Now you have Gates all over that. So now, like I said, before we even get into the Gates, I do want to say we are going to be talking about fertility issues with the boop boop on both sides. This is Austin American Statesman.
Well, it's something like, see, I didn't even know what it was, and I've been reading some stuff. So the RNA, it's not even a virus. So it's not a freaking vaccination at all. So like vaccination is supposed to be a weakened or dead virus that your immune system can handle, and now it's ready for it if it comes back. It has nothing to do with the dead or weakened virus.
It was never that. Brother.
It's an RNA thing that makes your things produce more protein. Bro. But they don't know if they can shut it off or if the overproducing of protein is going to kill you or make you infertile or not.
Let's stop. We can't talk about it on YouTube because it's way worse than what you're talking about right now. And John, the initial strike is gone, and we're supposed to lose the other strike in about 6 days. So we're saving. Listen, again, you want juicy Fitch talk like that? You're going to have to make the free Rockfin account because we are circling back to it.
People.
Listen, I want you to
I'm on Rockfin. You get my John Fitch Knows Nothing podcast. That's free. And I'm putting up other things that I'm selling on Gumroad. I'm putting courses up that I sell on Gumroad. I'm putting up on Rockfin too. So for $10 a month, you're getting access to things that I'm selling for more than $10.
Absolutely. And I want people to know thegruelingtruth.com is where you can find us audio style. JohnFitch.net literally has everything, including the Gumroad stuff and much, much more. Online courses. John Fitch Knows Nothing. He had a new episode on last night. But let's talk about what we can with Gates. I think that's important, guys, because I know a lot of you guys are tuning in. You see the thumbnail. You're like, what's going on here? Well, the big story today is that, Jeffrey Epstein and him were such buddies that they were talking divorce advice for a long time. Now, here's the thing. What they're going to do is they're going to obfuscate the programs that they were embedded in financially, okay? And that's why we're going to bring up New Mexico, because New Mexico's never been raided. There's a lot of weird, sketchy things going on there in the background that I want to highlight. So they're going to make it about Bill Gates, the scumbag. And what do I mean by that? Well, excuse me. Some of the things that they're bringing up now, and we're going to bring up something really shady that never got to the light, is that he was asked to step down from the board of Microsoft because they already knew from a decade plus ago he had an inappropriate relationship with some other woman who penned a letter that Melinda wanted to read. Okay, so now that part's in the media. Now here's the thing with that. I don't believe that for a second either. This is all managing it. I think that they're now, again, trying to distance themselves in this sexual abuse way, the same way Cuomo's not a serial killer. He's just maybe a sexual abuser, right?
Yeah.
So All right. So now they're saying this other
And they can blame misogyny and toxic masculinity, and that's why they weren't punished.
Wait a minute. And now here we go. And this is where the kicker is. The biographies that are coming out now is he was partying with strippers. And there were pool parties with all these naked people. You see what they're doing, John?
Good. He's a billionaire. If he didn't have pool parties with naked strippers, I would have no respect for him.
Well, I have no respect for him.
You loser. Like, how do you have billions of dollars and you don't have? I would have employed hot chicks just at the pool in my back. So when I went out to hang out by the pool, there's hot chicks there.
John, that's not very.
They can make $50,000 a year just being a hot chick at my pool.
Side note.
That's it.
You would not fit in well with Penn State University that's now banned freshman and senior from the vernacular. But that's another story. We'll get there.
That's just and France is banning that stuff. So like our universities are like bringing it in, and France is banning non-gendered language because it's ruining their language.
It's the destruction of everything that is based in our
reality.
Carbon human reality. Okay.
Yes.
Our carbon, that's not what they want, a virtual reality. Trust me. That's what this is perception is reality. This is the transhumanist movement in action. So what I believe is
you see the video of the girl who's like in the hospital bed after procedures and she's like takes pictures of her parents by blinking. Did you see that one? That was wild.
It's way worse than even that, John. But we can only talk. In fact, so just so everybody knows what I'm talking about here, we're going to be discussing this a little bit later. We can't discuss it now. But I've got my Twitter lined up, not only because I want to talk about not only the 4 million that Cuomo made on his book, but now it's 5.1.
Tim Dillon is probably the prize of COVID.
I love him.
He's so funny, dude.
I got to do the tinfoil hat podcast when I did it for the first time with Dylan. I had no idea who he was, and he was so well versed on the Franklin scandal and actual high-level political pedophilia. I was taken aback, dude.
Really smart dude. Just
really funny.
Vicious. I don't want to get on his bad side.
Oh, I think he's great. So Annie Jacobson.
Well, it'd make me laugh at least.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I've been retweeting her a lot. She has some stuff here on Track Trace database that I think people should see. But here's really what's important, okay? The DARPA body clock chip, okay? An implantable living pharmacy that can control your sleep-wake cycle on top of all these other things. John, I'm telling you, bro, this goes well beyond what people think it is. Yeah, the DARPA, and we'll talk about this on the other side, DARPA is mRNA. We can't talk about it here, but that's where that comes from. It's 2 decades plus old publicly, John. So just so everybody understands where we're at, we're not in fucking Kansas anymore, and a passport's not a good idea. You saw that Cuomo said he's going to let you have the mask off if you, for instance, you'll have to have paperwork or you have to have the app, the Excelsior Pass. So that starts Wednesday. So here's what I did today, John. I gave my boy a call, okay?
I don't see how that holds up in a court of law. The first person who sues, how does that hold up? How can they force you? How can they force you? They have to repeal Roe versus Wade. So they would have to repeal it so that they can ask you your medical history now. It makes no sense to me how they could possibly get away with this. Somebody's going to sue.
No,
it's got to go to the Supreme Court.
All right. So for my audience and for John for later, this is Daily Clout. This is Naomi Wolf. This is the woman I interviewed 12 years ago who's now warning we are at that fascist dictatorship. She's given away the book. It was the 10 steps.
Hey, everyone.
And that's Naomi. And this interview is with the lawyer that John is suing New York. This is the guy. And for 30 plus minutes, he describes what this lawsuit is, how there aren't really any, how they have evidence there is not an emergency, how they are trying to revoke these emergency powers. Now, do you remember when New York was big dick swinging and saying, we're going to revoke Cuomo's emergency powers because of this sexual assault stuff, right? You know what they did?
Nothing.
No, they did it.
Oh,
but you know what they did? They made it more difficult to prosecute because they signed it all into law. They took his executive powers away, and then all the executive actions they just signed into law through their little executive authority without anybody getting to vote on it or do anything, making it even harder. So I called up Tino today of Tino's Pizza, home of the cold cheese. God bless him. Love him. He decided he wasn't going to work today, and he was out on the golf course. So I go, hey, man, what's the deal? I go, they say you can take the mask off on Wednesday if you have your little slave mark and your papers or your phone. So what are you going to do? He goes, no, we're not going to take the masks off. He goes, we can't really take the masks off because I don't want to do the passport thing, right? So then they'll come after him if he doesn't do one or the other and check everybody. Mm-hmm. So like everybody, so here's the deal. All these businesses are being forced into a situation where they don't want to be liable, so they're forcing people to wear the masks anyway, right? And then all the ones that don't are going to be the special ones that have the pass or the health and wellness safety seal. And you're going to see that in your own area coming soon, John.
You're going to have to pay for it, and you're going to have to pay monthly or weekly or whatever to keep your pass up. And then they're going to have some new branch of pass enforcers that they have to pay. So that's going to be more taxes and more expense placed on the regular person. So even if you decide to opt out of society because fuck them and you don't want to play this stupid game, like, yeah, nope.
Nope.
They're going to force you into it.
And you know what's great is that guys like Bill Gates get to tell us all about this narrative, right? And so, kind of going back to that story about weirdness at the Zorro Ranch, right? So as I described, this is the New Mexico estate.
They never rated the place, and now somebody bought it. It's a mystery.
It's not even that. So it's even weirder than that. Okay. So it's even weirder than that because you read the headline and you're like, oh, someone has it and you don't know who has it. Well, that's kind of sort of not true, but kind of sort of true in the sense that they have a bunch of public land where they were able to graze cattle. Now, in these deeds, the county's trying to get access to survey all this land to see what was going on. And there's also a private landowner that's not Epstein that owns some of this stuff that refuses access to these people. So their information's not being told. Now, in a weird twist, somebody else apparently fraudulently filed paperwork with a notary with fake paperwork that Epstein's estate had signed over to him for $200 under a church name, the estate. But it was complete fraud, according to the Epstein estate's lawyer. He actually spoke about that. So I'm not sure what to make of that, whether that's true, it's just some kind of fraudulent claim, or perhaps they are trying to get rid of it to these shell corporations, and maybe they got caught and they're kind of panning it off. That's probably the lesser of the possibilities. But like you said, never rated.
Could be an opportunistic person too, who's just like, hey man, they just may just let it slide through because they don't want. Yeah,
no, absolutely, and that's why I bring that up because I think that's important. But I think this is important.
Why $200? Why not just like $1? What's the legal limit? Like, what? How much do you have to spend on it? Why did he pick $200?
Well, I'll bet you anything that the way he did it, when he filed it, he probably did it in a way that you wouldn't notice that it was an infamous piece of property. And that you would think it's just in the middle of the desert in New Mexico, and there wasn't anything on it. So, like $1 wouldn't be there, but like maybe you're
buying some dirt.
Yeah, you're buying dirt, buddy, or you're buying a problem, right? So maybe like a couple $100 for your problem. So, as I talked about limited hangout and burning people, right? Maybe you do burn an Anthony Fauci the same way that you burn a Harvey Weinstein eventually, right? As long as it keeps along that narrative. But then instead of going after them like this is a pre-planned thing, John, it's more, well, we had to cover it up and then we had to try to fix it, right? So Gates maybe gets kind of drawn into the cover-up and maybe he's a sacrificial lamb in a sense too. Probably not. And they try to move that halo over to Melinda. He's a sex freak party. Who knows? Maybe he gets Epsteined. Don't think they might not do it to you, Billy boy. Don't think you're not a royal, bro. I know you're a billionaire and you got to go to their meetings and they gave you little foundations. But guess what, bro? You're not fucking Prince Andrew. I can promise you that shit. Anyway, so these are the types of people that Bill Gates had on his estate and were personal engineers. And when you find out about this is from 2014, okay? And this guy was under investigation for more than 6 months before they arrested him. Let's play the clip.
Pornography. KIRO 7's Gary Horker is live near the Gates compound in Medina. And Gary, this man worked as an engineer for the family.
That's what SPD intelligence found out, Steve. They found out that the man actually worked for the Bill and Melinda Gates mansion on the grounds of their sprawling 66,000 square foot estate, and that's where they found him and questioned him last March. The estate is behind us, right on the lakefront here, but this is a few blocks away, and it's as close as their security will allow us to get. But according to King County prosecutors, 51-year-old Rick Allen Jones was questioned by detectives about images of child porn and even child rape that were sent from Jones's home computer. Now, none of this alleged crime actually happened at the Gates mansion, but it was here that Rick Allen Jones admitted to detectives he collected child porn for about 10 years, sending images through his Gmail account. Now, while Jones was talking to...
Let me just stop that for a second. Using the Gmail account...
How is Gmail not? They can ban all, I mean... Twitter, all these big tech companies.
Well, this is again.
They can ban somebody saying the wrong thing.
Listen,
but they can't find child rape.
Well,
bullshit.
Again, this is 7 years ago. You give them all the excuses in the book, but what I want to point out is they went there to question him, and that's where he was arrested and admitted it. I didn't hear anything about them serving a warrant to search his workplace, where he obviously had, which is on the mansion, which obviously had access to. Now, they say that they only find images, which are 6,000, and then 100 plus of these kids are already in their database, John. So they actually know who the kids are. And you never heard about this. They let them run rampant for 6 months. And, Gates has never had to answer for this at all. Let's keep going.
Detectives at the Gates estate. 3 more SPD detectives had a search warrant to search Jones's Ballard apartment. There, they say they found more than 6,000 images of graphic child porn and rape, 133 of which were children identified by police. We tried Jones's apartment for comment. We got no response. We also reached out to Bill and Melinda Gates' foundation, and we did not hear back. So, in fact, we do not know if he's been fired by the Gates' family. Another mystery into this is why Jones was never jailed or charged by these allegations up until now. The investigation started here at the Gates Foundation, the Gates Mansion, in March, and the criminal complaint, which I have right here, says he has to show up in court and face a judge in the coming days. So
do we have a picture of this guy? Do we even know if he's a real person, or did they just make up a name?
No, let's find him.
They create the whole thing just to push a storyline.
No, this was a real. This is
because I got to tell you, okay, for one, benefit of doubt, whatever. You don't know what people you're working for do in their personal lives. One, but he worked for this guy. The guy worked 10 years. The feds couldn't find him in that long. And when I went to college at Purdue, okay, some of our wrestlers lived in a house. They had a spare room. They rented that spare room in the front out to some random guy, right? In the first semester, this was 2000 maybe. Yeah, it was around 99, 2000. So we're talking more than 20 years ago. This kid lived with them for 3 weeks. And then one day, the feds show up, kicked in the door, and raided his room. Mm-hmm. In 1999, they could find this guy. He had child porn on his computer, and they arrested him and pulled him out, and they ended up having to find a new roommate. They had no idea who this guy was. They had no idea what was going on. And the cops could find this guy back then, but now, how is it that much harder? Are the criminals just that much more savvy in hiding their shit?
Well, it seems that here's the thing. He also happens to be in the picture with Gates and Epstein that you see all the time.
Oh, Jesus.
It's not funny. It's not funny, but this is him right here, just so everybody understands. Let's open that image in a new tab. We're going to be going to Rockfin soon so we can say what we'd like. But here he is, right? And here's the picture of the same man. Let's see. You usually see it cropped in, but this is the bigger picture. Let's see. Where's open image and new tab? And let's just bring that forward. And there he is right here next to Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein all together. So he's a top-level engineer that's personally involved with Gates for a long time and on trips with him to Epstein's place. I'm just pointing that out. That's no bueno, as I'm saying. Like, and remember, the media, how long did they cover this up?
If 2 of the 5 people in the picture are confirmed pedophiles, it's not looking good for the rest of the guys.
It's certainly not looking fantastic. So, guys, here's the deal. I don't even have 100 thumbs up over on YouTube, but you need to get those thumbs up because we're about to do it. We're about to get grimy. We're about to talk about stories, again, you're not going to see in other places. We're going to talk about the boop boop. And you want to see some absurdity, some lunacy? Let me see if I can pull this up. Please tell me I have this already up. I can't believe I wouldn't. Yes, I do. I don't know if you've noticed this one. We're going to play this clip. Actually, maybe we'll play this clip on right now. Right now, and this will be the transition. We'll go over to Rockfin after this so I can say how I really feel about this. But we're going to play this clip. Because I'm sorry, if you don't understand what this clip means, because we can't say what it means, because I'm scared we'll get kicked off, you're very slow. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, it was
now to the outbreak of COVID-19 cases within the Yankees. Infielder Gleyber Torres now has tested positive, bringing the total number of cases to 8, despite all being vaccinated.
It's called breakthrough COVID, and a lot of people are wondering why and how could this happen. CBS 2's Dr. Max Gomez has some answers.
The first thing to know is that no vaccine is 100% effective.
But, I just want to point this out. The roster of a professional baseball team, at least before the playoffs, because they do have to cut a few, I believe is under 40. Okay? So if 8 out of 40, okay, and I'm not even sure all of them got it, 8 out of 40, that's 1 in 5. So Mustachio Man wants to tell you a lot of things, but what I heard, John, a lot was safe and effective. Do we have a tip here? I think we do. Anna Fletcher sending us the big tipski and Hutch.
Nice.
Appreciate that. Yes, let's play it.
And while all 3 COVID vaccines have proven to be extremely effective at preventing serious disease, hospitalization, and especially death from the coronavirus, some breakthroughs can and have happened. There are so many possible variables that can contribute to a vaccine breakthrough. The individual's own immune system.
Is that a new language? I've never heard that before. A breakthrough? Yeah. Are they going to sing a Queen song? Like the language of everything. Remember when we did the shows, John, way before this was even available, and I was talking about efficacy rates and what they were saying and what the efficacy was? And so many people thought that this was going to prevent transmission, and I kept going, that's not what the efficacy is. And here we go. 8 of the players, guys.
It's an experiment. They think are assuming that this RNA vaccine, you got to use air quotes because it's not a vaccine.
All right, let's stop.
It's a protein. Okay.
Let's stop. Wait, let's stop right there. Guys, John's getting me going. So if you want to know what mRNA is and where it comes from, here's where this video ends. And we're going to talk about fertility issues and a lot more. So thumbs it up over at YouTube. Come over to the Rockfin, and we're about to talk about it. Okay? Because experiment is not the proper word. Make the free